Many people believe that they have to stop their negative thoughts to be free, but the truth is, thoughts are harmless. It's the belief that is the problem. Think about it. Have you ever watched a movie that made you cry? You know that the story is fiction. You know the characters aren't real. Yet you still feel tears rolling down your cheeks. Why? Because for those 2 hours, you forgot that it was just a movie. You got so lost in the story that your body believed it was happening to you. This is exactly what your mind is doing. It projects a movie called Your Life. But the only difference is, in the cinema, you eventually walk out. If you don't like what you're watching, you can do something else. But in our mind, most of us don't realize that we are actually watching a screen. We think the movie our mind is playing is reality. In this video, I'm going to show you how to wake up from this movie. First, to wake up, we need to understand how the mind keeps you glued to the seat. Your mind is a 24/7 projector, always commenting on stuff and telling stories. For most people, the story is a negative one. When you have negative thoughts, the mind is writing a script where you are the victim. It tells you a story of how miserable your life is. And because you're so immersed in the movie, you forget that you're the audience. You think you are the character on the screen. So, how does the mind do this? The goal of any entertainment is to make you forget who you are so that you can totally immerse yourself in the show. To do that, the show needs to create a specific environment that makes you forget your current reality. Think about the difference between watching a movie in a dark cinema versus watching it at home with the lights on while eating lunch. In the cinema, there are no distractions. You're just sitting there and surrendering to the screen. It's easier to immerse yourself in a movie than at home while you're multitasking, right? In the cinema, you suspend your disbelief and accept the reality of the show so that you can enjoy the movie. But what takes you out of the movie? Skepticism. If you are watching a movie and you start pointing out the flaws or things that doesn't make sense, like humans can't fly, the CGI looks fake, the actors acting are way too exaggerated. Any distraction will pull you out of the experience. It will break the fourth wall. So you cannot enjoy the movie if you don't believe it. That's why magic shows lose their appeal when you know how the magician misdirect you. Skepticism ruins the immersion. Now, in the cinema, skepticism is annoying. It doesn't help you focus on the entertainment. But when it comes to your mental health and spiritual growth, healthy skepticism is your savior. And I call this the power of disbelief. You see, for a thought to hurt you, it requires a partnership. It takes two to tango. You have a thought, but you need to believe the thought for it to become a reality. Let's say someone tells you that you are a failure. If you don't believe it, then the words are just noise, just an opinion. But if you believe it, then that opinion will become your reality. The exact same rule applies to your own thoughts. You have thousands of thoughts a day. The one that you don't believe, they pass by like clouds. You can't even remember what you thought yesterday because they just don't grab your attention. But the one you believe, those are the one that trap you. Those are the one that keeps repeating in your head. So the secret isn't to stop the thoughts, it's to break this partnership. Being aware of this mental projection is the first step. But to truly break free, you need to understand how the ego traps you in a narration cycle. When you understand this triangle, you will see exactly how your mind has been lying to you all this time. The story always starts with an event. This is just a situation you find yourself in, and it's neutral. For example, you didn't exercise today, you met your ex on the streets, but your mind never leaves an event alone. It immediately adds commentaries, thoughts, judgment. For example, you didn't exercise, you must be lazy. Your ex is engaged, you don't know how to love, and that's why they left you for someone else. Your mind is always commenting. And that's what your minds always do, and that's okay. But this brings me to the second component, belief. As we discussed previously, if you believe your commentary, it becomes real. We have established that the mental commentaries are only significant when you believe them as true. But here's how the ego keeps us trapped in the cinema. Your belief also controls what you see. The arrow actually works both ways. Your mind will actively seek events to prove that your belief is true. Let's say you believe I am lazy. You might have changed a light bulb, done the housework, and worked a full day job, but your belief acts as a filter and ignores all of that. It zooms in on the one thing that you miss, the exercise. And it says, see, I told you you're lazy. Your belief is a filter, a cipher, only choosing events that fits your narration. Due to your belief system, you're trapped in a cinema with only a certain genre of movie is shown. But here's the more scary part, the habit. When you believe you're lazy for long enough, you start acting lazy. You develop this habit of procrastinating or reaching for the remote whenever you face a challenging task. You do this because that validates your belief that you are lazy. You're doing what you believe lazy people should do. And your body also gets used to that behavioral habit. And this habit also creates new events, new source of evidence. For example, when you watch TV all day and you do nothing important, you're not doing what you truly desire to do, that becomes an event which proves that your belief was right all along. And this is a self-sustaining loop. To dismantle the story, we must interrupt the cycle. You can change your habits or the event, but the main engine of this entire machine is the belief. Many people try to change their habits but are unsuccessful because they still have the belief that fuels the habits. But if you pull the plug on belief, the habit loses its fuel. You start seeking events to validate your belief, and your opinions of the events also don't affect you as much because you know that your mind is just constantly commenting about stuff. It's not the truth, it's not the reality. And then the whole cycle breaks. And all you have to do to practice disbelief is to soften the belief. Instead of believing I'm lazy, just use the word maybe. Maybe I'm just too tired. Maybe I have overworked. Maybe I'm not doing something that's truly resonating with my soul, and that's why I'm procrastinating. Be more open and less definite, and your belief will loosen. Because the mind loves certainty, the mind wants something to be definite and fixed so that it doesn't have to evaluate a situation over and over again. And when you do this, when you soften a belief, this story will not hold. It's like a three-legged stool. When you take away one of the legs, it destabilizes the whole story structure. I used to teach a student, and he believed that the world is a very hostile and judgmental place. He told me, let's face it, teacher, everyone judges a book by its cover. He walked down the streets, and people look at him, and he instantly believed that people are judging him. The event is actually a neutral event, but why does he instantly think that people are judging him? Because he constantly judged others by their physical appearance. So he projected his own mind onto the world. Therefore, he has the habit of paying a lot of attention to his self-image, making him physically attractive to impress others. He was completely immersed in the movie where he was a victim of this world of judgment. But I didn't try to argue with the thought. I didn't say that, hey, no, people are actually very nice. They won't judge you for your physical appearance. That is just arguing with the movie screen. People don't like it when you challenge their belief. So instead, I asked him one simple question to pull him out of the theater. I asked, who is the one noticing that thought? He paused, and I continued to say, if you have a judgmental thought and you notice the judgmental thought, then who are you? Are you the thought, or are you the one noticing the thought? And if you are the one noticing the thought, then you cannot be the thought, right? You can choose not to judge others by their physical appearance, even if you have a passing judgmental thought, right? And at that moment, there was total silence. His belief snapped. He realized he wasn't the character in the movie, he was the audience watching it. The silence he felt is the power of disbelief. This is the moment you realize that you're just watching a movie that your mind has created. You have established a gap between the observer and the mind. There's some distance, there's some space. But when you merge with your thoughts, you're trapped in this triangle. The moment you ask yourself, who is noticing this? You create the space between you, the audience, and the movie. You become the observer. And from this place of observation, the thought will lose its power. The thought says that I am lazy, but the observer says that I'm noticing I'm having a thought about being lazy. Do you feel the difference? The first one is feels so real and heavy, but the second one is just noticing a passing cloud. So the secret isn't to stop your negative thoughts. You can let the movie play whatever you want. Your only job is to remember that you are the one watching the screen. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes a shift in terms of perspective. I remember when I was depressed for a couple of months, I was so deep in the movie, I couldn't see a solution out of my depression. And then suddenly I had a spiritual awakening. I woke up from the theater. I realized this gap between the observer and mine. And I asked myself, why have I been miserable for the past 2 months? I realized that the misery wasn't coming from my life. It was coming from the script, the story that I was believing. My depression suddenly lifted because the belief snapped. Once you are awakened to your observer self, it becomes much harder for the ego to sell you that same old story, the same old tragedy. It will try to grab your attention with a new, more improved story, maybe another area of your life that you are not aware of, that's for sure. But once you realize that you are the audience, not the character, it's very difficult to unsee it. The mind becomes a tool you use rather than a movie that uses you. Now, this shift from the thinker to the observer is the core of spiritual awakening, but there is a specific reason why our mind are so addicted to negative movie in the first place. If you want to understand why your mind creates drama and are attracted to drama, check out this next video right here.